Hello, my beautiful Rich and Chill souls, and welcome to another interview episode of the Rich and Chill podcast. I'm super excited for today. We will go more into the topic of the subconscious mind, and I have the wonderful Lucy Lynn here with me. Lucy, welcome to the podcast. So great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited and grateful to be here with you.
Perfect. Thanks for taking the time. And our listeners already heard your official bio in the intro, but I would love you to introduce yourself. Who are you? If you want to share a little bit of your story and why this work as a coach and entrepreneur is so important for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. There's a lot to cover, but just a synopsis of it all was I like to say that I was a little girl with a big dream. I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit with a desire to ride horses. I was obsessed with horses ever since I can remember. And just like Napoleon Hill says, the start of all achievement begins with a burning desire. And I can say with absolute certainty that I've been obsessed with horses ever since I can remember. And I begged my dad every single day, Dad, please buy me a horse. But both of my parents were blue collar workers. My mom had two factory jobs. Horses were just out of the realm of possibilities for me. I would pray at night and I would say, Dear God, please let me just dream that I'm riding a horse in my dream so that way it actually feels like I'm doing it in real life. Anyways, it didn't take long before I realized I had to take matters into my own hands. So the day I turned 16 was the day that I got my driver's license, and the same day that I decided to put an ad on Craigslist saying, I will ride your horse for free. And at that point is when I had all of these yahoos calling me with these crazy, wild, unbroke horses that hadn't been ridden or handled in 5 to 10 years. And next thing you know, I'm getting bucked off, thrown off, flipped over on top of, you name it. I experienced it, but it was one of those failing forward moments. And what I learned from that experience was when you can when you can follow your passion and you find out what your skill set is, where your talents lie, and you exploit them in the service of others, you are going to find true fulfillment and unprecedented success on the other side of service. And so that's what I did. I wanted to ride horses and I found a way to do it. And so, sure enough, I never had any formal education or instruction. The horses taught me everything. And I went on to basically, looking back, I went on to build and scale a seven-figure business where I now buy, train, and sell horses all over the country. And I accidentally opened up one of Michigan's largest public trail riding companies. And all of that happened very naturally and very organically. And of course, there were difficulties. Of course, there were hardships along the way. After graduating college and getting scooped up into the corporate world where I had the world's worst boss, most negative, pessimistic boss. Um, I decided to quit my comfy, cozy corporate job to follow my passion of horses full time, which was one of the scariest things that I've ever done, leaving that security of the paycheck. But taking a leap of faith and a chance on myself. I mean, it was one of the scariest things, but hands down, one of the most rewarding and gratifying decisions I've ever made. So, one of the other things I really like to share with people is that you're only ever one decision away from a completely different life. All you have to do is believe in yourself and trust the process and lean into that unshakable faith. So that's why I'm so excited and so passionate about teaching people all about quantum physics and the power of the mind and essentially how to leverage the laws of the universe, because I don't share all of this story with you guys to say, oh, hey, look at me, but
Yeah.
really to be like, if I can do it, you can do it too. I
Mm.
believe in living, leading, and inspiring by example.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thanks for sharing this story. It's so inspiring and so true what you said. It's always starts always with a decision, and also a big part of my work when it comes to, transforms people's money stories and help them manifesting the life they really desire. when we talk about the subconscious mind and reprogramming. And I would love to have your perspective, especially with your background in quantum physics, how do our story and beliefs from your experience hold us back from the life we truly desire?
Yeah, so that's an awesome question. I feel like just watching some of your Instagrams, I feel like your audience is pretty tuned in to things like manifestation and the law of attraction, which is incredible and exciting, and I love that. And that's pretty much what quantum physics is based out of, understanding that we live in a vibrational universe, an attraction-based universe, where all things move and all things vibrate. And we don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. And so that's why it's so important. If we want more love, we have to give more love. If we want more things to be grateful for, we have to pour out more gratitude. And same thing with money. If we want more money, we have to embody the energy of abundance, and we have to act in accordance with that and become more generous. So essentially, quantum physics is, if we talk about the Napoleon model of the world, that's cause and effect, which means we experience an event, and after having experienced the event, we then feel the emotion because of the event. Well, the quantum model of the world is flipping that around, and it's causing an effect, which means if you can embody the feeling of that emotion before the events occurred, you are going to very vividly draw that outside circumstance to you. It's operating from the inside out. And what I like to explain by that is we're either default creators or we're deliberate creators. So if we're default creators, that means we're kind of just moving through life and we're observing outside circumstances, again, that we have no control over, and we're allowing those outside circumstances to dictate how we feel inside. Whereas if we can, instead of living from the outside in, if we can flip that script and be intentional and live from the inside out, if we can create and build a clear mental picture of exactly who we want to be, the life that we want to live, and understand what belief system the person living that life has, and understanding how to give up our beliefs and replace them with a better belief system, shifting our paradigm, then we're able to live from the inside out. And pretty much you have to deny your five senses of your external reality. I like to say that every moment is a manifested miracle, and the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your thoughts, because thoughts become things, as I'm sure you and your audience know all about. So in order to change your life, you should change the thoughts that you're thinking, because your thoughts are going to affect your emotions, which is how you feel, and your emotional state is what's going to influence every single decision that you make in your life. You are where you are today based on every single decision you've made up until this point. Therefore, decision is what shapes your destiny. So if you know that decision shapes your destiny, and the one thing that's going to influence every single decision you make is the emotional state that you reside in, the energy that you show up in, well, then what's more important than the energy that you show up in, right? So that's why I like to give my students we don't have a whole lot of time today, but I like to give them a whole toolbox of different techniques, tools, and strategies, step-by-step processes that they're able to access and maintain peak emotional states. Because when you're in a peak emotional state, you're making drastically different decisions as opposed to if you are in a low vibrational state, operating in fear or lack or guilt or shame or frustration or stress, any of those things. And so the key to manifestation is, one, understanding your energy, becoming aware of the thoughts that you're thinking. And I have, again, many tools to help people understand, like unlock the power of awareness, because then we talk about unconscious patterns that are running our lives. If you take a step back and you look at your lives, you'll soon see that our life is nothing more than a sequence of patterns, these unconscious patterns that we participate in. Every morning, every afternoon, every evening, we have patterns of thought, patterns of focus, patterns of physiology, and patterns of language. And once we're able to recognize or become aware of these patterns, then they're no longer controlling our life. We can pattern interrupt, and then we can replace them with better, more empowering habits and routines that are going to move us closer to our goals.
So, oh, that's so awesome. And what you said, about I experience that a lot with my clients, especially as I work mainly with women, that there is so much, shame and guilt. Also, when it comes to money, it's like like society tells you it's greedy to have a lot of money, or all that stuff and stories and patterns, as you said. And that's, in my opinion, why it's all so effective to work with a coach, because we don't see our own blind spots, or we don't see our own patterns as we are used to it. I mean, maybe for 30 years or 40 years or whatever. And so you said something about awareness. Would you say, from your perspective, that awareness is the key? For me, it definitely is, because it's, if you are not aware of something, you can't change it. So, but I would love to have your thoughts on that.
I completely agree. We can't change what we're unaware of. In fact, all change is preceded by awareness. So it's the act of becoming aware of what we're thinking and how we're feeling, and essentially how we're reacting. Because I like Dr. Wayne Dyer says, if you take an orange and you squeeze it, what's going to come out? Orange juice. Is apple juice going to come out? No, apple juice isn't going to. Why isn't apple juice going to? Because there's no apple juice inside of an orange. When the pressure is applied, whatever's inside is going to come out. And so the same thing works with us. When the pressure is on and life squeezes us, what's going to come out? Is fear, anger, animosity going to come out? Or is the love and grace and appreciation going to flow out? Is understanding, compassion. And so what's inside of us? Because whatever it is that we carry within us, when the pressure is on and life throws its curveballs, because it's going to throw its curveballs, that's when we get to decide how we want to show up. Life is 10% of what happens and 90% of how we respond. And if you want to get a little more out there, if you will, what's a kind of like a cool, awesome, crazy concept is that we live in an infinite universe where there's abundant resources, but also there's infinite vibrational frequencies. And depending on how we decide to respond or how we react to unexpected circumstances is going to dictate the outcome of those circumstances. Because how we choose to show up, the vibration that we decide to operate on, is going to unlock the world that is in harmony or is in alignment with that vibration. And what I mean by that is there's an infinite number of parallel realities that are simultaneously occurring. And so this idea of a 3D reality that we're experiencing, yes, is the experience real? 1,000%. But like Dr. Joe Dispenza explains, this idea of the 3D reality is an illusion, and we have access to an infinite number of realities that are happening simultaneously. And I know that might sound a little bit weird to some people listening, but the idea is putting it in layman's terms is, if you choose to respond in grace and understanding and love in those high vibrational states, you're going to attract an outcome that is operating at a higher vibrational level, and therefore it's going to be more pleasing. Where if you are operating unconsciously and someone cuts you off in traffic, or your boss delivers you really bad news, or something bad happens, if you are responding like anger and hate and frustration, you are unconsciously choosing to show up in those energies, and therefore you will be stepping into that vibrational plane, that world you want to experience. So the question people need to ask themselves is, what world do I want to live in? Do I want to live in a high vibrational world full of happiness, joy, abundance, and peace? Or do I want to operate in a world full of chaos and fear and lack and stress? And again, that's why it goes back to we're only ever one decision away from a completely different life. Happiness is a choice, and perspective is a choice. Once we begin to take radical responsibility, and when I say radical responsibility, I mean responsibility of the thoughts that we're thinking, the emotions that we're living in, how we're responding, as well as how we're interpreting or how we're perceiving different events around us. Because when we shift our perspective and we start to understand that life isn't happening to us, life is happening for us. Everything's happening for our benefit. God's got our back. The universe provides. Everything's working out. And if we can lean into that unshakable faith, that's when miracles start to unfold and our dreams start to come true.
Absolutely. But I also think that's what's often so misunderstood, when people manifest something or want something and life throws something bad, quote unquote, and they say, oh, it's not meant to be. So the universe says, no, stop here. And they stay in their, let's say, comfort zone forever because they never move out this. Of course, it's sometimes scary because it's something new, and as you said, you have to have faith in it and believe in it. But that's where most people stop, at least where, like, I experience it, because they say, oh no, it's getting uncomfortable, it's getting a little bit bumpy in the road, and so no, it's not meant to be. So let's stay where we are forever. And of course, our ego wants to keep us safe, but from your experience, how is it more, I don't want to say easy, but like how can we step more out of this comfort zone?
Yeah. So I like to say that our comfort zone is what's holding us hostage in the land of mediocrity. And a lot of times it's funny that we call it our comfort zone because it's really what is most familiar to us. And sometimes what's most familiar to us is pain or it's suffering or it's lack of fulfillment. But we get so used to it because we're all essentially conditioned. We're conditioned by our past, by what our parents believed, conditioned by any traumas that we may have experienced. So we have these belief systems, that these paradigms that are that latch onto these stories. We keep telling the same story over and over again, and we believe these stories and we keep telling them. And the thing is we can choose to live from a memory of the past, and we can choose to let our current circumstances define where we're at and where we're going, or we can choose to live from a vision of the future. And that's what I help people do, is I work with them to extract. It's like we go through a whole vision extraction process for their life and their business. So that way they can have absolute clarity on what it is that they want and where they want to go and what they want their lives to look like. One of my favorite things to ask people is, you had all the resources in the world. If money were of no object, what would your life look like? And so many times people will start listing off every single thing they don't want. And I'm like, you have to shift that. Our society is so conditioned to focus on what we don't want. And where our focus goes, energy flows. So if we're talking about it, thinking about it, worrying about it, we're just going to attract more of it. And then we get caught in those perpetual loops. And that's why people feel stuck. And it's like, well, if you're stuck in a story. And so you've got to get outside of that story. You've got to rewrite that story. And that's another tool that I teach people, is how to very intentionally rewrite your story. Because once you change that, you shift your perspective. And when you shift your perspective, you change everything. You have to learn to ask better questions. Because
totally. We have so much in common, Lucie. I love that. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, and
it's so true.
Because better answers.
Yeah, like you said, people do the same things over and over again, and they expect different results, but that won't happen. And so, I totally love that. And I think we could talk forever. It's already half an hour, but it's flew by. To wrap this up, if you want to share anything else with our audience, kind of where to start, or a mind hacking, something you would like to share where people can start? And of course, we will link all your details in the show notes for people to find you and get more to know your work. But
Yeah.
it's up to you to wrap it up.
So we have a robust 16-week program that essentially allows people to very intentionally rewire their subconscious mind, transform their identity. And so that way they can break the patterns and upgrade their software. So that way they can start taking massive action towards their goals. It's based off 3 pillars. The first pillar is energy, which we've already talked about, how when you're operating in peak emotional states, you're going to be making much better decisions that are going to move you towards your goals versus operating in lower vibrational states. So if you can control your energy, you can control your state, you can control your life. The second pillar is going to be vision, which we briefly touched on, and really zoning in and getting absolute clarity on what it is that you want in life. And then we teach people all sorts of different strategies and techniques like intention setting, tomorrow's forecast, why monthly intentions are important, how to activate, how like particular activating system and why that's important. And then the third pillar is going to be belief, because belief is what bridges the gap between where you're at and where you want to be. You can know with absolute clarity what it is that you want, and you can have a vision for your life written out that you're reading consistently. But if you don't believe that you're worthy, you don't believe that you're enough, you don't believe that you're able or you're capable of, there's always going to be a vibrational discrepancy. And that thing that you long for the most is always going to be just out of reach. And that's why it's so important. That's where the rewiring the subconscious mind comes into. And that's why transforming your identity is so paramount to this entire process, because you are where you are based on every single thought, action, decision you've made up until this point. And so therefore, like, just like you said, if you want different results, you're going to have to make different decisions. And so when you're making different decisions, different habits, you're becoming a different person. And that's what that means, is death of the ego. And so that's what's really difficult for many people. So what we've done is we've done a condensed version of this that sells on our website for $1,000. However, we have a special promo code for you and your audience. So,
oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Me and my partner Jason, we are on a mission to positively impact and empower millions of people around the globe. So we just want to give back and serve as best we can. So what we've done is we've taken this 16-week program and condensed it into a 6-part, very digestible series that you can start using these techniques, strategies, and tools immediately today and start feeling the benefits tomorrow. So if you go to ultimatesuccessblueprint.com, that is going to be the website. And then the promo code is, let me pull it up right here.
We will link it, of course.
Promo code.
If you don't find it right away, we will link it. No worry about that.
The promo code is Rich&Chill. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart. So the promo code is Rich&Chill.
Beautiful.
And so you can go ahead and type that in, and you can download this training absolutely no cost.
Wow.
And totally for free. And then the last thing is we do also have a Facebook group. It's called Transformation Nation. And every single day we're pouring out content. And every Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, which I believe is 3:30 your time in the afternoon, we go live with a gratitude meditation. So
that's beautiful. Oh, I love that.
Meditation is one of the things that has transformed my life. And if there's one thing I'd recommend everybody start doing that's going to just up level every area of their life, it's meditation. So I want to pretty much just if anyone doesn't know where to start, if they don't know how to start, I am here to help you kickstart your meditation journey. So if they follow us on social media, I'll give you the links. Transformation Nation is the place to go.
Perfect. Oh, I love that. So gratitude is also a big part of my work, and I think it's so important and a beautiful place to start with. So thank you so much for your time, Lucie, and for all the wisdom you shared. And you are such a lovely person, and you have so much to give. And I'm excited for our listeners to listen to this episode. And thanks for your time. Thanks for listening to the Rich and Chill podcast. And we will see you soon on the next episode. Bye.